Page 266. Velia slid back into her seat like a turtle trying to get back into its shell. I'm sorry, we were so focused on leaving that I didn't even notice them. I picked Juanita's backpack off the floorboard, unzipped it, and started pulling everything out of it. Are you sure you didn't put them in here? I'm sure, Juanita said. Hey, Eduardo, sit down and do something productive. I'm sure, Juanita said, pushing her hair out of her face in frustration. I unzipped every zipper and looked through every pocket of Juanita's backpack, making sure no documents were hiding there. Delia, Peta, did you bring anything else? Your school IDs? Anything that might prove who we are, who we say we are? School IDs aren't going to help us. You need state IDs or birth certificates to get across, Delia said, and no, I didn't bring mine either. I dumped Juanita's backpack onto the floorboard and sat with my back pressed against the truck's door, looking at Abuelita as I rubbed my forehead. Suddenly I had a massive headache. I can't believe this, after everything we've been through, and now we can't go home. Now hold on, let's not get melodramatic, Abuelita said. She pointed behind me to the other side of the plaza. All we have to do is go in there to the aduana offices and tell them everything. Well, not everything. Remember what we talked about. None of that magical, mystical stuff. We don't want to lose credibility. Anyway, they'll get in touch with the authorities on the other side and someone will get a hold of your mother. It will take some time, but they'll sort it out. It's in their best interest to get the matter resolved as soon as possible, especially with all the media attention you've been getting. So I'm sure you won't be waiting too long. You'll be home sometime tonight, I'm sure of it. Peta sat forward on her seat and poked her head over Abuelita to look at us. Do you really mean tonight? Where would we wait while they cleared things up? Oh, I'm sure they have some kind of facility where we can wait, Abuelita began. You mean like a detention center? Delia's high-pitched voice echoed the horror in her wide eyes. Oh, I'm not saying in a detention facility on this side of the border, Velia said, shaking her head. Cecilia said the police are corrupt, and you've heard the stories. People have to pay huge bribes just to see their family members when they're detained on this side of the border. Mama can't even afford to pay the phone bill. There's no way she'd have the money to get all 5 of us back. Not all rumors are true, Abuelita said, a frown marring her forehead. Not everyone is corrupt. Let me see that. Juanita reached back and pulled on Velia's backpack until Velia wiggled her shoulders out of the straps and handed her the bag. Frantic, Juanita rummaged through Velia's bag, like her life depended on it. Regardless, I don't think we should take any chances by going to the authorities, even if they were to do right by us. The whole thing would create an international incident. The media would catch wind of it and things could really get out of control then. She had a point. It was already bad enough that we'd gotten all the media attention we'd gotten so far. The police couldn't let that kind of thing slide if a reporter were to wonder who was at fault and maybe call for someone's punishment. Child Protective Services would probably get involved, I said. Mama would definitely be in trouble then. Juanita pushed her fist into the empty backpack on her lap, which deflated as she leaned over like she was going to be sick. It's no use. They're not here. Wait a minute, I said. I opened the door to step out of the truck, looking up at the building we'd parked beside. I can't believe it. The answer has been sitting right here all along. What are you talking about? Abuelita said, joining me on the sidewalk. The rest of the girls left the truck to cluster around us. Juanita followed my gaze and stared up at the santuario. What's going on? This is it, the Virgin Sanctuary, her home, I said, taking in the beauty of the ancient cement building with its stained glass windows and tall central tower. So what are you saying? Velia asked. You think we should pray? I turned to Abuelita Remedios, put my arm around her, and squeezed her with all my might. Thank you, I said. You couldn't have brought us to a more ideal place. Ladies, we're going to do more than pray. We're going to go in there and ask for a miracle. A miracle? Peta straightened her clothes as she stared at the church. Yes. I let go of Abuelita and started off the wooden doors of the santuario. Come on, I have one more spin left. Inside the dark, empty church, I walked to the nearest pew, held onto the edge of the seat, dropped to one knee, and crossed myself. Then I turned left, intentionally passing the replica of the body of Christ. I touched the glass of the ancient display case and said a brief silent prayer as I continued to make my way to the altar of the Virgen de Guadalupe, at the front of the church. Like little ducks, the girls mimicked my every move until we were standing in front of the Virgin's altar, crossing ourselves one right after the other. Abuelita reached into her pocket, pulled out a worn leather coin purse, and deposited 6 coins into the slot of the metal box in front of the iron candle holder. Then she took a long wooden stick, borrowed flame from a burning wick, and lit a new candle. She passed the stick around, and we all took our turns lighting our own candles. "Ready?" I whispered as I took Juanita's hand on one side and Abuelita's on the other. "Get in close." I watched the rest of the girls take each other's hands until we were all standing in a semicircle joined in prayer before the Virgen de Guadalupe, la Madre de Mexico, our Holy Mother, standing on a bed of roses. "Here we go," I whispered. "Bow your heads and close your eyes." Everyone did as they were told. I let go of Abuelita's hand long enough to give the ear pendant a spirited flick. It spun to life, humming a joyous tune as I took Abuelita's hand back in mine and started to pray out loud. "Virgencita Santa, Holy Mother, we have done as you asked. We delivered a man to his wife and children and tried our best to stay humble and kind and gave mercy when it was asked of us. Aztec Queen Tonantizin, Holy Mother of all mankind, lend us your magical assistance one last time. Please help us cross the Rio Grande. Deliver us home to our mama." At my words, the ear pendant whizzed and whirled like a top, sending thousands of tiny, exquisite vibrations to every nerve in my body. Then my body jolted and my eyes flew open as if I'd been suddenly awakened from a nightmare. Even as I blinked to focus and disbelief, I knew the vision before my eyes could not have been anything else but a dream, for we were all standing huddled together before a serene sky. A foggy mist swirled around us, and before us lay a moonlit path that led us straight up to the stars. Peta opened her eyes and her mouth dropped. "Whoa. What is in the..." Vilia began to say something, but she was so shocked by her surroundings she couldn't finish her thought. "What is this?" Delia asked. "Some kind of hallucination?" I put my foot in front of me and took a tentative step forward. My sisters moved around, prodding and testing the moonlit path with each footstep as they milled around. "No, it's real," I said. "Come on, this is going to make your sopapillas curl up." As if mesmerized by the sound of some celestial being softly beckoning to us, we followed the moonlit path to the heavens, silently walking on stardust and moonbeams until we reached the summit of a hill and stopped. A brilliant dawn broke through the morning dew, caressed every shadow, and lifted the fog to reveal a floor of white clouds dotting an azure sky. Before us stood a giant cactus patch, each pad covered with budding, prickly fruit that sparkled in the light like tanzanites. At the top of the hill, a youthful Tonantizin, the goddess of sustenance, the girl who had saved us from Nagula, lifted her arms to welcome us, her beloved daughters. And when I looked around, I saw that a fury of magnificent mariposas swarmed around us as we stood waiting on the summit of the hill, awed by the surreal beauty that surrounded us. "Are we dreaming?" Juanita asked. "Dreams are revelations," Tonantizin said, smiling down at us from her altar of cacti. "You have come far, my children, and I am proud of you." "We shouldn't have come," I said, hanging my head. "My sister got hurt, and we put our mother in a bad position. She might never trust us again." "The mother is the earth, the creator. Every part of her is alive," Tonantizin said. "She is the river, the flower, the bud. She is the regenerator. Her faith in her offspring is always alive." "What did she say?" Peta asked, her face screwed up in confusion. Abuelita put a finger up close to her closed lips to show Peta she should be quiet and pay attention to what the Virgen had to say. "Hijita mía, youngest of my daughters, la más pequeña de mis mariposas," the goddess said, turning her attention to Peta. "Do you have a question?" "We all do," Vilia interrupted. Abuelita Remedios reached up and wrapped her arms around Vilia and Peta's shoulders protectively. "Forgive them, Great Mother. They do not mean to disrespect you or question your judgment. They are good girls, but they are also curious, inquisitive to a fault. It's what makes them brave, but you knew that already, I'm sure." The Virgen smiled at Abuelita, and her radiance shone brightly upon us as she said, "Yes, that's why I chose them." "You said Mama is a flower, so she is basically good to us," Vilia said. "But what about Papa? Did he leave us? Why did he leave us?" Delia, upon hearing her twin sister's question, pushed her way to the forefront to stand between me and Abuelita. "Forget that. When is he coming back?" "Your father is like the sun, splendid to behold, but he must descend and let darkness rule for a time." "I don't get it," Peta said. The Virgin stepped down from her throne and touched Peta's face. Without night, there would be no rest, no room for growth. It's just the way things are. Tonantizine explained in a serene voice. You speak in riddles, like Llorona, I accused her. I don't get it. If dreams are supposed to reveal things to us, does that mean we're dreaming now? And if we are, then how come I'm more confused than I ever was? I know you don't understand what is happening with your family, Tonantizine said gently, but you will, when the time comes. A new dawn is approaching, but you are very clever, very brave. You will not be blinded by his light. So why did you set us on this path, I asked. What were we supposed to accomplish? Can you at least tell us that much? Odelia, you are here because I needed your assistance, Tonantizine said, fixing me with her gentle gaze. And you've been very helpful. You might not realize it yet, but you've learned many lessons along the way about your mama and about life. However, there is one more thing you must do to complete your task. I need you to remind the mother that she is the flower, the bud, the giver of life. She needs to be honored with love and redemption. I let out an exasperated sigh. Honored with love and redemption? How am I supposed to do that when I don't even understand what you're saying? I didn't want to disrespect the Verhin, but this explanation just left me more confused. Tonantizine placed her hands on my shoulder, and suddenly I wasn't so overwhelmed. Her gentle smile, her luminous eyes, her rose-scented... I love that. It's really pretty. Really pretty. Her scented perfume filled me with an inner calm, and I felt blessed. Soon you will understand everything. Mesmerized by her glory, I reached out and touched the sleeve of her emerald gown. Go on, the goddess said, extending her arm out to my sisters, who all touched the sleeve of her garment and oohed and awed when it came to life, glittering at their touch, infusing us with sunlight and warmth. When your journey is over, everything will make sense, and you will live joyful, productive lives. But first you must pick the Rosas de Castillas, Tonantizine said, pointing behind me. I turned to follow her hand and saw the clouds lifting and the earth rising up to meet us. Up and up it came until we were standing on our path in the woods by the Rio Grande. There, at the bottom of a hill, off the beaten path, amidst a cloud of glorious mariposas, a patch of rosebuds began to break through the ground, bursting to life one right after another, until the hill was covered in white rosebuds that bloomed in the morning light. Tonantizine began to walk toward the rosebuds. We followed her down the path and as we did, I noticed her feet were bare. But she walked without regard to burrs or thorns, for as she stepped forth, the ground beneath her became carpeted with fluorescent rose petals. They're beautiful, Juanita whispered, as we came upon the cluster of blooming rose bushes. The Verhin reached over, plucked a perfect blossom from the bush, and handed it to me. I took it and instinctively brought it up to my nose. Its heady perfume overwhelmed my senses, and I felt dizzy for a moment. Give the roses to the mother, Tonantizine said. They will remind her of who she is, who we are, and what we're all meant to become. Roses, I said, trying to imprint her instruction into my mind. On the hill, when we wake up. Okay, I can do that. That will bring light into her eyes, Tonantizine continued. They will transform her. The mother, Vilia asked. Is she talking about Mama? I think so, I said as Tonantizine turned away from us. We followed Tonantizine as she walked back up to her altar. She stood on the cacti, her feet unharmed by the prickly pears and thorns. So this is what it's all about, I asked, as we stood before her again, giving her flowers? She has earned them, Tonantizine said, paid for them with tears of gold. Give her the roses and you will bring her back to life. If you do this, you and your sisters will be blessed forever. You will look up at the sky and know that you played your part in creating new life in our universe. But to end, you must begin. It is time for you to go. Pick the flowers, give them to the mother, I whispered to myself, and even as I said it over and over again, reminding myself of what had to be done, I wondered why Tonantizine kept referring to our mother as the mother. Her word choice seemed odd and old-fashioned, almost regal in a way. Ancient kings used to refer to themselves as we and us, so it was probably common for the ancient goddess Tonantizine, the holy mother of all mankind, to use the word the to refer to other mothers in her care. As I pondered this, the silhouette of the goddess began to change. The light that surrounded us faded into darkness, and Tonantizine slowly disappeared into the night. The stars began to shine all around us, and the path of stardust and moonbeams reappeared beneath our feet. We walked down the moonlit trail toward a dark and misty shore, a surreal place, a place somewhere between sleep and wakefulness.